Hi, Dolly. How are you?
Smell great.
Yeah.
Sure.
Dolly, Dolly, so
Vision
good
in
to
pink.
see you
Well,
again.
you
yeah.
too.
Oh my
Nice to
gosh.
always be with the both of you.
Yeah.
So did you read my book?
Yeah, I read some parts of
Some
it.
parts of
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I went to the juicy parts.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Well, I figured you would.
There's a
Those
little
are
bit
the
of
good
juice
parts.
in each chapter, though.
Well, I think my whole life has been pretty juicy.
What a
And
life.
I've tried to be as honest and as fair as I could without hanging myself or somebody else.
Now,
So-
were you really born in a one-room cabin?
Well, I was born in a one-room cabin. My dad was a sharecropper, and I was born on the banks of the Little Pigeon River, and so we moved later to a three-room house. Mom and Daddy had their
coming
own
up in the
bedroom.
world.
Yeah,
Yeah.
coming up.
Three
yeah.
rooms, but you still had 12 brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Mhm. Well, it was close quarters. We slept 3 and 4 in a bed, and we had Mom and Daddy always had a private bedroom, and then we had the kitchen. Then we had this big room where we had beds all over the place, mostly just beds where we kind of piled up and peed on one another.
Some of my favorite parts of the book are about the early days with your family and the fights you'd have as kids, and how if you had a desire, you always made everybody sing. I love
Well,
that.
that's true. I was always singing. Music was a gift in our family. Most of my people did sing in church. My mother's people. My grandpa was a Pentecostal preacher, so I grew up in the church. But I wanted to take my music a little further, and I did have one brother that you're speaking of, my brother Denver. We fought all the time. We were very close in age, and he was mean as a striped snake. So I have many fun stories about him. But in this book, I tried to cover everything that people want to know, and talk about what I saw you saying while I was in the dressing room, talking about surgeries. Talked about plastic surgery, talked about my
That
weight.
didn't bother you at all? Did
Well,
you
why
stop
should it?
when you were writing the book? Did you stop and say, Gina, I want to tell everybody this?
Well, everybody wants to know. I got so much money for writing this book, I thought at least I'd be decent of me to tell what people wanted to hear about.
So you
Anyway.
thanked a couple of doctors in the book.
Oh, I
I
did.
do.
I
Name
thanked
names.
them. I named names because I figure people really pay attention to what celebrities do. And if you have had surgery, I think it's important that you do find the right surgeons, that you don't go out and look in the yellow pages for a plastic surgeon and get ruined and maimed.
Yeah.
So I've had little nips and tucks here and there.
Yeah, but Dolly, you know, you were endowed at an early age.
Yeah, I had-
Why would you need any more surgery?
Well, I needed them lifted off the floor.
After she lost
After I
all the
lost
weight.
the weight.
And after
people
you lost all that weight,
Exactly.
too.
Somebody said, oh, ain't you embarrassed to tell that? I said, no, it's less embarrassing for me to say that I had plastic surgery than for me to be tripping over them all the time. But after I lost the weight, I just wanted to kind of get everything kind of tightened up a little bit. And I said, whatever you got to do to make them stand at attention. And, so I don't have to wear a bra if I don't want to. So just...
Do you mind if I salute now?
You go right ahead.
There's a very funny story in the book about how you actually put them on a plate one time for your manager.
Well, that was, yeah, that's true. This
Well, honey,
was-
you wrote about it, so I'm bringing
Oh,
it up.
that's fine. I don't care. I started saying I didn't know that you'd bring it up. I don't
You don't know her
care.
very
I
well,
don't,
do you?
And she don't know me very well. But no, this was what my manager, who's precious. He's
You
gay.
love him dearly.
I love him dearly, but I knew it wouldn't be something that was going to be tearing him up other than just make him laugh. So we were on vacation once. This is when I was sick and I was fat, and he was trying to make me laugh, and so he was doing all these bizarre things. We were sitting over in a corner in this tiny little restaurant off on this island where he'd taken me to mend myself after this ordeal I had been through. So he'd got up and he'd been singing at different tables. People thought he was entertainment. They were giving him money. And so I thought, and he was embarrassing me to death, you know, by walking around doing this. So I thought, well, I'm going to get him. So I had on this little moo-moo type thing that kind of laced down, and I was just even. I'm short. So when I sit at a table, it's just a perfect platter for them. So I just kind of laid him out, and I just, you know, it's like I still had the clothes on. And it took him a minute, you know, to realize it. And then he just goes, ah! It's like, it scared him to death. I don't think he'd ever seen any. Certainly not like that. But anyway, I tell all kinds of personal things and fun things. Not to be tacky.
But you have your limits too, miss.
That's true.
You didn't tell all.
Well, you're only paying $25.
Well,
for the
then
book.
what do I?
You're certainly
I'll
going to
give you
get your
another
money
25 bucks right now. Let's hear the whole story.
Tell about the different movies that you've made and the different co-stars you had, and who's a good kisser, and who you had a little. You tell a very poignant story about Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
About the homeless man, and That was interesting.
Yeah, this was the time when we were doing Rhinestone, which, first of all, right up front, I love Sly. I think he's so funny, so intelligent.
So bright.
Love him to death. But this was new, and he's born and raised here. And so this was at a time we were shooting Rhinestone, and we were out on the streets. Very cold, cold night
Here in New York City.
In New York City. And there were rats bigger than possums back home, you know, just running around the dumpster. And there was this old homeless man there, and I had on this big wool shawl, and it was mine, and it was a nice shawl. So I went over and I put it over the man. I didn't know anybody was looking, and Stallone, he thought, why are you doing that? Anyway, he said something to the effect, you know, don't put that good shawl on that guy. So anyway, I just cussed him out. I said, you ungrateful SOB, you know, this could have been you, except by the grace of God and all that. And he realized what he had said. And so that night, he had given the man some money and went out and bought him a coat and some blankets and stuff. So it turned out good. But anyhow, I talk about those kinds of things because I think it's important that I can, it's interesting.
Well,
but he's a wonderful guy.
What I found interesting was, like Kathie said, who the best kisser is.
Oh,
well,
James Woods. Oh, he's got those lips.
I always thought he was a good kisser, too.
I wouldn't touch that, but he's got these big old fat lips, you know, and they're just as soft as cotton. Oh, and he knows how to use them. It's like, you know, people say, well, ain't you embarrassed? And usually I am. In movies, when you have to do love scenes, you're very clumsy. It's very awkward. You have to turn your head right for the lighting, and you got to think about everything, you know, but the kiss. Well, I thought about nothing but the kiss. Every time he would kiss me, I thought, it's like, oh, my Lord, this is so good. It's like being a teenager, like your first kiss or something. But I know I've made a big deal out of that, but I just cannot tell you how good the man kisses.
Every time he
Every time I think about it, I do. But he was nice. I really enjoyed all of them.
First movie was 9 to 5, wasn't it? Yeah, that was an enormous hit. And a lot. I'm Dabney Coleman.
But I love what you said to your director. He was saying, you know, you can't act. Right?
Oh, this was in Steel Magnolias.
Oh,
that
Steel
was
Magnolias,
Herb
Herb Ross. That's
yeah,
right.
he said, you can't act. I said, I know I can't act. You didn't hire me to be an actress. You hired me to be a personality. I'm Dolly Parton, and if you're any kind of a director, you'll make me look like I'm acting. So...
We're going to pause. We'll come right back with Dolly in a moment. All right, back with Dolly Parton. In Dolly's new book, we have lots and lots of pictures. Let's take a look at a few of them right now.
Okay.
You can comment on them.
Okay.
There's the cover, and there's Dolly as a little schoolgirl.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite school pictures. I'd roll my hair in little pin curls. See that one hanging up there like a little horn?
Now we're growing up. We reached the year 1964, and Dolly is a high school senior.
Anytime now.
Oh, there I go, and there's my rhinestone comb. Now, I had worked really hard on those spit curls, and that hair was before wigs too, but that hair was just like a helmet.
Now, Dolly,
it was hard to rock.
those schoolboys chase you all around the farm?
No, I chased them.
Because you are a very nice-looking young lady.
Thank you.
Now you're recording with your two uncles, huh?
No, that's Fred Foster. That's this man holding the microphone is the man that owned Monument Records. That was my first big label, first big break, and that's my Uncle Bill.
He was
on this
a singer,
side of
too?
me. My Uncle Bill was kind of my early manager. He played guitar. We wrote songs together, and he was very beneficial.
Now, did all the kids
career
in the
and my
family
life.
sing, or was it just you then?
No, we all could sing, and we all played some sort of a musical instrument, but most of them just sang in church. A lot of them were shyer than me at the time, and I just kind of got
Well, I
out
remember that one story in the book. You're 13 years old, and you're waiting outside a restaurant, was it, for Johnny Cash?
Yes.
You wanted to get on, what's Grand Old Johnny Cash was a giant, still is a
and
giant.
so sexy at that time.
Yeah.
So pretty.
The door opened, and out came Johnny Cash, dressed in black. Walter, you were sitting in the car. You were 13 years old.
I know.
weren't
I
you?
got out, and I was just standing looking at him with my mouth hanging open. I was just... that's the first time I knew what sex appeal was. You know, I was a young girl. I'd never known what charisma and sex appeal. I'd never had anybody affect me like that.
And he said, hello, I'm
said,
Johnny Cash.
Yeah. And I couldn't say anything. And it was
Only
like...
time in your life.
I know. It was like
But
I
then
was
you
just
told him you wanted to be in Grand Ole
Yeah,
Opry.
and then I finally came to my senses, and I said, my daddy's listening on the radio back home. We came to Nashville, and they're expecting to hear me on the Grand Ole Opry. You've got to help me get on. So he did, and he introduced me that night on the Opry, and Jimmy C. Newman gave me his spot. Usually the stars had two spots, and so anyway, I wasn't even supposed to be allowed on the Grand Ole Opry. I wasn't union or anything, and I was a child, but he seemed to know, you know how God plants things in people, and that's how I believe.
Me too.
So it was meant to be.
You know that, remember that movie they made, Sissy Spacek?
Coal Miner's Daughter.
Coal Miner's Daughter, you know?
That's Laura
there's a
Lynn's
movie
story.
here, you know that.
Oh, I hope so. In fact, I someday hope to do my life story as a musical, Broadway musical, and maybe be in it too. But I imagine they will be running after me to do a movie of parts of this.
Now, when are you going to find time, Dolly?
Well, I won't have to be in it myself. I just got to find a little girl, you know, that looks like me, and then get her some boobs.
Maybe it's...
I'll have her call that doctor I talked about. I'm joking. Now, don't get on my case. I'm not
a fake doctor and a body doctor. I love it.
Continuing with the pictures, here's the wedding picture, 1966.
Oh,
There's Carl and
look
you.
at that. He was so skinny. I think he weighed about 140 pounds, and he's about 6'2", 6'2".
Now, was Carl a singer?
No, Lord,
You
no.
met him your very first day there, didn't you?
I met him first day I got to Nashville, 1964. There
Hey,
he looks like a
Carl.
Rock Hudson.
Yeah.
Looks like he's got on a toupee, but that's his hair. He's got the biggest mop of hair you've ever seen. He did not want to take these pictures. He did not appreciate. I told him, I said, well, it's not up for discussion. I'm writing my book, and I'm going to write about you, and I'm going to use some pictures so you can help me pick them out.
You know, but Carl's kind of a mystery man, isn't he? Kind of an enigma.
And he still is, and he prefers it. There's my mom and dad. Now, that's a picture. That was a few years back, but that's the closest I had to an up-to-date picture. But they were all dressed up then. But anyhow, I'm proud of them. They're wonderful people.
So Carl has no objections. He just stays out there in Tennessee? And
He likes it. He's very much a homebody. He plans his vacations every year, and he goes where he wants to go. But he never flies. He always drives everywhere. He likes being at home. He don't mind that I do what I do. It's been worked out well for us, and I always say that Carl's the only person I can live with all the time, but that's only because I don't have to. But he's a wonderful friend. He's a wonderful guy. He's funny, and I write a lot about him. People have never heard about Carl and our relationship, so I think people will be real interested in that.
The time you put on the tuxedo because he wanted to support you and went and you were getting an award or something, then he came back and he said, you go ahead, but I'm not ever coming to any more of these wing dings.
And he never did.
Yeah.
He's never been, so another thing. When he comes to my shows, he buys a ticket at the door. I usually don't even know he's there. When he goes to Dollywood, he's got a Dollywood pass, but he buys a ticket. He'd rather not be bothered. He can't see it if he shows his pass and they know Carl's on the grounds. He just don't
He's
like
an
it.
independent man.
And I like him just the way he
Well,
is.
I bet
It
you
works out
respect
great.
that very
I
much.
do. And that's just how he is. He don't do it to make a point. He just does it because he don't like to be bothered.
Carl's like me.
Well, he likes you very much, by the way.
Carl likes
He gets a big kick out of
Carl,
watching the two of you. And he's watching you right now.
The new CD is out. Are
Yeah.
these songs that you wrote some of?
Yeah, this
you
is
produced,
called,
I know.
This is Heart Songs, the title of the album. And so my new label called Blue Eye, it's a Columbia Blue Eye Records. Steve Buckingham, who's my partner in the label, and also we produce things together. And so this is songs that we did live from Dollywood when I was doing the opening. You know, the money goes to the foundation. And so, but this is songs that I grew up with, songs my mama taught me, songs of the old world, English, Irish, Welsh, all the music, the Scottish that I was influenced by.
have a little guitar right next to you there. Just a little bit of one of the songs your mama
Coat of many colors.
I can't do Codes, but you know,
Whatever
we
you'd
have
like.
Coat of Many Colors, you know, I have a little kid's
I
book
know,
out
it's
now that I was going to
precious.
give to Cody and your little
He
girl.
loves it. Somebody sent me a copy the other day, and I'd love you to sign it.
Good.
for
They
me.
played a little bit of it when you was coming out of the commercial. So we've done that one.
Okay.
This is the only one I'm tuned up to do.
Oh, good.
And my nails are still on.
So
This
what's the story on this
This
one?
is called Tennessee Mountain Home. This is a song I wrote years ago, and it just kind of talks about the way it is. So you tell me when to quit, all right? Because I never know when to quit. Anything. Sitting on the front porch on a summer afternoon, in a straight-back chair on two legs, leaned against the wall. As I watch the kids playing with their June bugs on the string, and chase the glowing fireflies when evening shadows fall. In my Tennessee mountain home, life is as peaceful as a baby's sigh. In my Tennessee mountain home, crickets are singing in the fields nearby. More? And honeysuckle vine clings to the fence along the lane. Their fragrance makes the summer wind so sweet. And on a distant hilltop, an eagle spreads its wings, while a songbird on a fence post the melody that was in my Tennessee mountain home, where life is as peaceful as a baby sigh. I'm gonna have to get high here. In my Tennessee
Dolly Parton, everybody. Don't forget Dolly's new sitcom on CBS, Heaven's the Country, coming out big season. In addition to the book of her. Everything. Dolly, thank you, baby. Right back with Danny DeVito in a moment.